In a vast and beautiful African kingdom, the land stretches endlessly with thick forests, flowing rivers, and towering mountains that seem to touch the sky. The people believe the land is blessed, but there are whispers of places that hold deep secrets, places where even the bravest warriors dare not tread. Among these is a sacred cliff, feared and respected for generations. The elders tell stories of those who wandered too close, only to vanish without a trace. It is said that the spirits guard this place, ensuring that no one disturbs its ancient mysteries. Naima, the daughter of Chief Omari, listens to these tales with a mixture of fascination and disbelief. She is not like the other girls in the village, who are content with their roles and traditions. She is restless, adventurous, and eager to see the world beyond the boundaries set by her father. While the others learn the art of weaving and cooking, she secretly watches the young warriors train, dreaming of a life filled with excitement and discovery. Her father often scolds her for her curiosity, reminding her that there are things in this world that must remain untouched, especially the sacred cliff. On the night of the great festival, the village is alive with music, dancing, and laughter. The people celebrate under the moonlight, their voices rising in joyous song. Drums echo through the land, and the scent of roasted meat fills the air. It is a night of unity and happiness, a time when worries are forgotten. But Naima's heart is elsewhere. She sees this as her chance to finally explore what has been forbidden to her. Slipping away unnoticed, she moves through the dense forest, her heart pounding with excitement. The deeper she goes, the quieter it becomes. The sounds of the festival fade behind her, replaced by the whispers of the trees and the distant calls of unseen creatures. She knows she is close when the air grows cooler, and an eerie stillness surrounds her. The sacred cliff stands before her, its edge disappearing into the darkness below. She steps closer, peering down, trying to see what lies beyond the mist. The wind howls around her, carrying with it an unsettling energy. A strange feeling creeps into her chest, but she pushes it aside. Just one more step, just a little closer. But fate has other plans. The ground beneath her shifts, crumbling without warning. Her breath catches in her throat as she feels herself slipping. Before she can scream, gravity takes hold, and she is falling, her arms reaching out for something, anything, to save her from the terrifying emptiness below. The moment her foot slips, time seems to slow. The ground beneath her crumbles like dried leaves, breaking apart as if the earth itself has conspired against her curiosity. Naima's heart pounds violently in her chest as she scrambles to regain balance, her arms flailing in the empty air. A scream rips from her throat as gravity pulls her down, and suddenly, she is no longer standing, she is falling. The wind roars past her ears, her body twisting and tumbling as she plunges toward the valley below. Terror grips her as she sees jagged rocks waiting beneath, their sharp edges gleaming faintly under the moonlight. The world blurs around her, a whirlwind of dark sky and shadowed trees. Her thoughts race, but there is no time to think, no time to pray. She is going to die. Then, in the very last moment before impact, someone, moves with impossible speed. Strong arms wrap around her, pulling her out of the deadly descent. The force of the sudden stop knocks the breath from her lungs, but she is no longer falling. She is being held, suspended in the air, as if the wind itself had formed into human shape to catch her. Gasping, she opens her eyes. The first thing she sees is a face unlike any she has ever known. Sharp features, intense eyes that gleam like embers in the dark, and skin touched by the sun, with scars that speak of countless battles. His grip is unyielding, his presence both terrifying and mesmerizing. He holds her effortlessly, as if she weighs nothing at all. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The only sounds are the rustling leaves and the distant echoes of the village festival, now impossibly far away. She realizes they are not standing on solid ground, but perched on a ledge that juts out from the cliffside, a place that should have been unreachable. How did he get here? And more importantly, who is he? Still breathless, Naima struggles to find her voice. Who are you? She whispers, her heart still hammering from the fall. The warrior does not answer immediately. He only looks at her, his gaze searching, as if trying to decide something. Then, with surprising gentleness, he sets her down on her feet. But her legs, weak with shock, give way beneath her, and he steadies her again, his grip firm yet careful. You should not have come here, he finally says, his voice deep and steady. This place is forbidden. Naima stares at him, still shaken, still struggling to understand what has just happened. She should be dead, but she isn't, because of him. And yet, she cannot shake the feeling that her fall was no mere accident, that something, some unseen force, had led her to this moment, to this warrior who should not exist in a place no one dares to go. Naima's breath is still unsteady as she looks up at the man who saved her. He towers over her, his presence both intimidating and strangely reassuring. His skin is marked with deep tribal carvings, intricate designs that seem to tell a story she does not yet understand. His eyes, sharp and piercing, study her carefully, as if searching for something beneath the surface of her fear and confusion. They gleam like the flickering embers of a dying fire, holding secrets older than the land itself. His body is built like a warrior's, strong and powerful, but there is something more, an untamed wildness in the way he moves, as if he belongs to the shadows rather than the world of men. He wears leather armor, hardened from battle, decorated with strange symbols she has never seen before. A long, curved spear rests in his hand, its shaft etched with ancient markings that glow faintly under the moonlight. Everything about him speaks of a life beyond the kingdom she knows, beyond the rules and traditions she has always been bound by. For a moment, Naima is too stunned to speak. Her mind struggles to process what has just happened. One moment she had been falling to her death, and the next she had been caught, rescued by a stranger who should not have been there. Who is he? How did he reach her so quickly? Why was he here, lurking beneath the forbidden cliffs? The warrior does not speak at first. He watches her carefully, his grip firm but not harsh. Then finally, he utters a single word. Okay. His voice is deep, steady, carrying the weight of something ancient, something untamed. She blinks, confused. Okay? She repeats, testing the unfamiliar name on her tongue. He nods. My name. Naima swallows hard, still trying to steady herself. Her limbs feel weak, her heart still racing from the fall. You saved me. Okai does not answer. He only looks at her for another long moment before shifting his spear onto his back. Then, without warning, he lifts her effortlessly into his arms. Wait, what are you doing? She protests, squirming slightly. You cannot walk yet, he says simply, and you do not belong here. Before she can argue, he steps forward into the dense jungle, moving through the darkness with an ease that startles her. He walks with the confidence of a man who knows this land better than he knows himself. The thick trees seem to part for him, the tangled roots and vines avoiding his steps, as if the forest itself respects his presence. Naima clings to his shoulders, her pulse quickening. She has never been carried like this before, never been this close to a man so unlike the ones she knows in her kingdom. His skin is warm, his heartbeat steady against her. The deeper they go, the more she notices. He does not speak her language exactly as she does. His dialect is rougher, older, as if it belongs to a forgotten time. His scent is a mixture of earth, smoke, and something unfamiliar, something wild. Every movement he makes is controlled, precise, as if he is constantly aware of his surroundings, constantly prepared for an unseen danger. Naima realizes something else, something that makes her shiver. He is not just a man. He is a man on the run. She sees it in the way his eyes dart to the shadows, in the way he moves without making a sound, in the way his grip tightens slightly whenever the distant howl of an animal echoes through the night. He is hiding from something, or someone. Her mind races with questions, but she knows better than to ask them now. Instead, she looks ahead, trying to see where he is taking her. The jungle stretches endlessly in every direction, dark and alive with the sounds of creatures that lurk just beyond sight. Then, just when she thinks they might be walking forever, Okai stops. Before them, hidden beneath the thick canopy of trees, is a small clearing with a simple but well-hidden camp. A fire pit rests in the center, still warm from an earlier flame. A few weapons lean against a fallen log, and a single woven mat is laid out near a tree, a place to rest, but not to stay. This is not a home. This is a temporary shelter, a hiding place. Okai sets her down gently, his eyes scanning the area before turning back to her. You are safe here. Naima looks around, her breath still uneven. She does not know if she believes him. Nothing about this night has felt safe. And yet, as she meets his gaze once more, she realizes something else. He did not just save her from the fall. He saved her from something else, something unseen. And she has a feeling that whatever he is running from is not far behind. Naima stares at Okai, her mind racing with unanswered questions. The fire crackles softly between them, casting flickering shadows over his sharp features. He sits across from her, sharpening his spear with slow, deliberate strokes, his expression unreadable. But she is done with silence. You saved me, she says, breaking the quiet. But you won't tell me why. Okai doesn't look up. Does it matter? Yes, she insists. It matters. She gestures around them. The hidden camp, the worn-out weapons, the way he moves like a man always prepared for battle. You live here, in the wild, alone. You knew exactly where I was falling. You caught me as if you were expecting it. Who are you, Okai? Why are you really here? At last he stops sharpening his spear. His dark eyes meet hers, and for a moment there is something unreadable in them. Then, after a long pause, he speaks. I was once a warrior of your father's kingdom. Naima's breath catches. What? A long time ago, he continues, his voice low, steady. I was one of the king's most trusted men. I fought in his army. I defended the lands. I swore my loyalty to him. Naima shakes her head, struggling to understand. If that's true, then why are you here? Why are you hiding? Okai's jaw tightens. Because I was betrayed. The word hangs in the air between them like a blade. Naima waits, heart pounding, as Okai looks into the fire, his expression darkening. Your uncle, Chief Zuberi, he says slowly. He wanted power. He wanted the throne. And I was in his way. A chill runs through Naima. That's not possible, she whispers. My uncle has always been loyal to my father. Okai lets out a bitter laugh. That is what he wants you to believe. Naima shakes her head, refusing to accept it. Her uncle had always been a powerful figure in the kingdom, a respected chief who stood beside her father in times of war and peace. He had been there for her family, protecting them, guiding them. He was strict but wise. How could this man be a traitor? Okai watches her carefully, as if expecting her reaction. You don't believe me, he says. I don't want to, she admits. But if what you're saying is true, why would my uncle betray you? Because I was loyal to your father, Okai says, and because I knew his secret. Naima's pulse quickens. What secret? Okai hesitates, then leans forward. His voice is lower now, just above a whisper. The kingdom was never meant to be ruled by your father alone. There were two heirs to the throne, your father and his younger brother. But when your grandfather died, the younger brother vanished. Some say he was killed in secret. Others believe he ran away. But he pauses, his jaw tightening. I learned the truth. Naima grips the fabric of her dress, her heart hammering. Your uncle, Okai continues, was the one who made him disappear. Naima's stomach twists. No, she breathes. That can't be. It can, Okai says. And it is. But I had no proof, only whispers, stories that no one dared to speak aloud. When I confronted Zuberi, he acted first. He accused me of treason, said I was plotting against the kingdom. He had men, your father's own guards, swear false testimonies against me. Naima shakes her head, struggling to believe it, yet unable to ignore the certainty in Okai's voice. I was sentenced to death, he says. But I escaped. I ran into the wild where no one could find me, where I could watch and wait. Naima's hands are trembling. If what he is saying is true, then everything she believed about her family, about her uncle, was a lie. I have watched your kingdom from afar, Okai says. I have seen Zuberi's influence grow, and I have seen the way he moves pieces like a game, positioning himself closer to power. He pauses, then adds, including you. Naima's eyes widen. Me? He fears you, Okai says, because you are strong-willed, because you question things, and because you are the only heir who can stand in his way. A deep, cold realization settles over her. Her uncle had always tried to control her, to mold her into something she was not. He had warned her against being too reckless, too curious, and he had always kept a close watch on her. Too close. She shivers, suddenly aware of how deep the deception runs. Okai watches her carefully. Now you know the truth. Naima swallows hard. What do we do? For the first time that night, Okai allows a small, knowing smile. Now we fight. The days in the jungle stretch into nights, and Naima finds herself drawn deeper into Okai's world. She watches the way he moves, silent as a shadow, precise as a blade. He hunts with skill, tracks footprints in the damp earth with an uncanny sense of direction, and knows which plants will heal and which will kill. At first she struggles. The wild is different from the structured life she knew in the kingdom. There are no silk cushions here, no servants bringing warm meals, no walls to shield her from the unknown. But Okai teaches her. He places a spear in her hands and positions her stance. You hold it too tightly, he murmurs, stepping behind her, his breath warm against her neck. A warrior controls the weapon, not the other way around. She listens, adjusting her grip. He circles her slowly, eyes sharp, watching. Then, with a swift motion, he lunges. She barely has time to react before he knocks the spear from her hands, sending it spinning into the dirt. You hesitate, he says. In battle, hesitation means death. Naima glares at him, frustrated but determined. Then teach me again. And so, he does. They spend hours under the sun, training. She learns how to wield the spear, how to track prey, how to listen to the sounds of the jungle and understand them. He teaches her the language of the wind, the way it shifts before danger comes. At night, as the fire crackles between them, he tells her stories of his past, of battles fought and betrayals endured. She listens, hanging on to every word. She begins to see the man behind the warrior, the one who carries the weight of exile, the one who has suffered loss and yet remains unbroken. And he, in turn, sees her for who she truly is, not just the chief's daughter, not just a rebellious spirit, but a woman with fire in her heart and a strength she has yet to discover. One evening, as they sit beside the river, she notices a scar running along his arm. Without thinking, she reaches out, tracing the jagged line with her fingertips. He stiffens at first, but then relaxes under her touch. What happened? She asks softly. Okai exhales. A battle long ago. I was outnumbered. But you survived. He turns to her then, his dark eyes meeting hers. I always survive. Something shifts between them in that moment. The silence is not uncomfortable, but charged, heavy with something unspoken. Naima's heart pounds. She knows this feeling, the way her pulse quickens when he is near, the way she catches herself staring at his strong hands, the way his voice lingers in her mind long after he has stopped speaking. She should not feel this way. Her father would never allow it. She is meant to marry a nobleman, a warrior of high status, not a man cast out from their kingdom, not a man marked as a traitor. But when Okai lifts a hand and tucks a stray braid behind her ear, when his fingers brush against her skin, sending shivers down her spine, she realizes something terrifying. She does not care. She wants him. Okai pulls away first, his jaw tight. We should get back. She nods, but neither of them move. The air between them is thick with unspoken words, with desires they cannot afford to acknowledge. As she follows him back to the camp, her mind races with a single, undeniable truth. She is falling in love with the one man she can never have. The night is thick with tension as Naima prepares to return to the kingdom. She knows she must face her father, but she has no idea that danger is already lurking in the shadows. Unbeknownst to her, one of the king's warriors has been tracking her movements for days. Hidden behind thick foliage, he watches as Naima trains with Okai, as she laughs with him, as she lingers too close. His eyes narrow. This is not a kidnapping. This is something far worse. Betrayal. Without hesitation, he turns and vanishes into the night, sprinting back toward the kingdom with news that will change everything. Back in the palace, Chief Zuberi stands before the king, his expression grave. "Your daughter is missing," he says, voice dripping with false concern. "And I have reason to believe she is in grave danger." The king's face darkens. "What do you mean?" Zuberi sighs, shaking his head. "The traitor, Okai. He has taken her." Gasps ripple through the room. The queen clutches her chest. The council members exchange uneasy glances. The king rises to his feet. "How can you be sure? A scout saw them together in the forbidden jungle." Zuberi leans in, lowering his voice. "The girl is frightened. She has been gone for days. We must act before it is too late." The king's face twists in fury. "I want him dead." Zuberi bows, hiding his smirk. "I will see to it." Naima is gathering water from the stream when she hears it. Whispers carried by the wind, the faint sound of boots crunching against leaves. Her heart pounds. Something is wrong. She follows the voices, keeping to the shadows, and what she hears makes her blood run cold. The king has ordered his execution. He must not see the morning. "We attack at dawn." Her breath catches in her throat. They are coming for Okai. Panic surges through her as she spins on her heel and runs, feet pounding against the earth. Branches whip against her arms, but she does not slow. The warriors are moving fast, but she must be faster. She must warn him before it is too late. The moon hangs low in the sky as Naima rushes back to Okai's camp, her breath ragged from running. She stumbles into the clearing, her heart hammering. "We have to leave," she gasps, grabbing Okai's arm. "They're coming for you." Okai's eyes darken, but he does not panic. He grips his spear, muscles tensing. "Then we fight." Before Naima can respond, the sound of rustling leaves fills the air. Then, silence. Okai's grip tightens on his weapon. "They're here." Without warning, warriors burst into the clearing, surrounding them. Their leader steps forward, an imposing man with cold, calculating eyes. "The king has ordered your death, traitor." Okai does not flinch. He plants his feet firmly, ready to defend himself. Then he should have sent more men. The battle erupts in an instant. Okai moves like a storm, his spear flashing as he strikes. One warrior falls, then another. His strength is unmatched, his skills honed by years of survival in the wild. Naima fights too, using the skills he taught her. She dodges, parries, and knocks a warrior off balance with a well-aimed kick, but they are outnumbered. Blades clash, the sound ringing through the jungle. Okai takes down warrior after warrior, but they keep coming. A sword slashes across his arm. He grits his teeth and keeps fighting. Then, Naima hears a sharp cry. She turns just in time to see Okai struck from behind, a heavy blow to his head. He stumbles, dropping to his knees. Another warrior knocks him unconscious. "No!" Naima screams, lunging forward, but strong hands grab her. She thrashes, but it's no use. Okai is bound in chains, dragged away as the warriors force her to follow. As they approach the kingdom, her heart pounds with dread. Her father must listen. He must believe her. But deep inside, she fears the worst. This content may violate our usage policies. Did we get it wrong? Please tell us by giving this response a thumbs down. The palace is alive with murmurs of Okai's impending execution. Naima's heart pounds as she races through the dimly lit halls, clutching an old, tattered letter in her hands. She had found it hidden among her uncle Zuberi's belongings, an aged parchment with the royal seal written in the hand of Okai's father, the former general. The words were clear. Okai was innocent. The treason was a lie. Zuberi had orchestrated everything. Her father had to see this. She bursts into the grand hall, where the king sits on his throne, surrounded by council members. Zuberi stands beside him, his face smug with victory. The execution is moments away. Naima doesn't wait for permission. She strides forward, her voice unwavering. "Father, stop this at once. You are making a terrible mistake." The king frowns. "Naima, step back. You do not understand." "I understand everything," she interrupts, holding up the letter. "And now, so will you." The hall falls silent as the king takes the letter from her hands. His eyes scan the words, his expression shifting from confusion to shock, then fury. This cannot be," he breathes. Zuberi shifts uncomfortably. It's a forgery. Lies created by a desperate girl to protect her lover. Naima glares at him. "Then why was it hidden in your chambers?" Gasps ripple through the room. The king's grip tightens on the parchment as he turns to Zuberi, his face dark with rage. "You betrayed your own blood. You framed an innocent man." Zuberi takes a step back, eyes darting toward the exit. Then, without warning, he lunges for his sword. But the king is faster. "Guards!" he bellows. Warriors rush forward, seizing Zuberi before he can escape. He thrashes, but it is useless. The king rises, fury burning in his eyes. "For your crimes against this kingdom, you will suffer the fate you planned for Okai." Naima exhales shakily as the realization sinks in. Okai is saved. But now, she must reach him before it's too late. The sun sets in hues of gold and crimson as Okai stands before the king. His chains removed, his honor restored. The warriors who once held him captive now bow in respect, recognizing the truth that had been hidden for so long. The king looks at Okai, his expression heavy with guilt. "I have wronged you," he says solemnly. "You were loyal to this kingdom, and I let a traitor turn me against you. Tell me, what can I do to right this injustice?" Okai stands tall, his gaze steady. "I ask for nothing but the chance to serve my people once more, and to have Naima's hand in marriage." Gasps echo through the court. The king's face hardens. "That is not a reward I can grant." Naima steps forward, her voice firm. "Father, I love him. He has proven his loyalty, his bravery. I will not marry anyone else." The king looks at his daughter. The fire in her eyes, the determination in her voice. He sees the love between her and Okai, unshaken even in the face of death. Slowly, his resolve weakens. After a long pause, he sighs. "You are your mother's daughter. Stubborn and strong-willed," he murmurs, a small smile forming. Then, turning to Okai, he nods. "You have my blessing." Cheers erupt in the hall. Days later, the kingdom celebrates the grandest wedding ever seen. The drums echo through the valleys, and the air is filled with music and laughter. Naima, dressed in royal golden attire, walks toward Okai, who stands proud, his warrior's markings now symbols of honor, not exile. As they exchange vows under the sacred baobab tree, the same wind that once carried Naima over the cliff now dances around them in a gentle embrace. Together, they ride off into the horizon, their love stronger than any force that had tried to break them.